Well, on a day that India won 2 historic gold in hockey and in athletics, a games record there in 4 into 400, this remains a burning issue. That of Sarita Devi, the volte-face, from ready to stake her career to appeal to save her career. What changed in less than 12 to 14 hours? Nisha, Millet, good evening, former national swimming champion, joining us from Bangalore. Captain PVK Mohan, president of the Billiards and Snooker Federation of India, and Vice President of International Billiards and Snooker Federation, also joining us from Hyderabad. Good evening, Kishore Bhimani, senior sports journalist, and Raj Kumar Sangwan, two-time Asian Gold Medalist in boxing, joining us from Delhi. First to you, Nisha Millet. Aren't you surprised?
Hi. Don't
you want to ask this question? Yesterday, she and her husband Toiba Singh saying, we are willing to stake our career to protect the interests of the future generation of boxers. And today, news comes that she's actually appealed to the IOA officials. Save my career. I am ready to take the medal. What changed?
I think it's two things. One is maybe her whole life, all her earnings have gone into this, her career of boxing. She has a family to support. So maybe she's looking at not being able to earn if she faces a life ban from boxing. Or it also could be, if you ask me, some pressure from some kind of Indian Olympic Association officials. You'll never hear about that and you'll never have it, come out in public. But I might have gone to her and said, listen, you need to save our face and save your face or the face of the Indian contingent, in the international media, the Asian media, and put this whole thing to rest by accepting that medal. So I think that's more likely. But the way I saw her husband so passionately speak out and, she was breaking down into tears, it is a bit of a shock, this sudden turnaround. So I wonder what really went on. Was it her actually wanting to save her career, or was it the officials also, chipping in and trying to get her to say something that maybe she didn't fully mean?
Nisha, that's the thing. Like you said, just the raw emotion that we saw yesterday, the conviction that we saw yesterday when she said that, she'd put everything into this bout and she felt she'd been cheated. Yeah. That's why she didn't want the medal. Kishore Bhimani, does it strike you as slightly suspicious that she's had such a complete volte-face within 24 hours? Or is it really, that reality of having to stake her career might have now dawned upon her?
We can only speculate from this distance, but may I very humbly submit that I think the IOA officials are more likely to look after their own careers, their own, pleasure seeking, their own power equations and so on, rather than care about such people. I personally believe that what happened with Sarita Devi was disgraceful. Having seen Olympic Games myself, I've been witness to 2 major controversies in Olympics, where in one case, in 1972 Munich Olympics, if you was a standoff between the Russian or the USSR and the USA basketball teams. There was some problem with the timing. It was a matter of 3 seconds. There was a problem there. And Russia, with 2 seconds to go, were 1 point ahead. They got 2 throws, 2 penalty throws. They got them in, and they got the gold medal. The Americans thought that it had overrun the time, but it looked like a siege of Saigon. There were so many American officials lending their support to the team and said, what on earth is happening here? And I was present there, sitting there, and I said, this is the way it should be. If there are Indians, if they are Indian officials, veterans of Olympic Games and Asian Games, they should jolly well be there and say, come on, what have you done? And one more thing, Tina, one more thing, Anand, Narasimhan. Do you know that South Korea has a terrible history as far as boxing is concerned?
Yes, we do, sir.
What they did, I'll tell you this. Park Si-hon, 86, Park Si-hon and Roy Jones. When the medal was taken away from Roy Jones, although he had landed 86 punches against 32, and the 3 judges involved were accused of bribery. 2 were suspended for life, and 1 went and apologized. Now, how can this happen at Olympic Games when 3 judges who were in 1997 declared as having been wined and dined, this is their words, not mine, by the Korean team? So Korea has a pretty poor history about Olympics, and I think that history repeated itself with Sarita Devi.
Also, Mr. Bhimani, the fact is that, as you mentioned, there have been incidents in boxing before. We've seen incidents even at the last Olympic Games where India's Sumit Sangwan very similarly was completely denied an opportunity to move forward. Now, let's go across to Raj Kumar Sangwan, because there is a problem here. The Indian Boxing Federation at the moment does not exist because of, all the problems that they're having with the International Federation. We don't have our officials there representing our athletes. We don't have our officials there standing shoulder to shoulder with our athletes, ready to lodge a protest with her if she chooses to do so. As Mr. Bhimani was saying, Mr. Sangwan, it was disgraceful that Sarita Devi was left to her own devices, crying, shouting, screaming that she had been denied. There was nobody there to even stand with her. She even had to borrow the money from a journalist to actually go ahead and lodge that protest. Isn't it absolutely shameful?
Yeah.
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए जो भी इंसिडेंट आपने कल भी दिखाया था कि अगर ऑफिशियल्स हमारे नहीं हैं, बॉक्सिंग फेडरेशन एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रही, लेकिन उसके बावजूद अगर आप देखेंगे कि हमारे वहाँ सीनियर मोस्ट कोचेस जो 30 इयर्स का जिनका एक्सपीरियंस है वो वहाँ पे मौजूद थे, वुमेन टीम के कोचेस वहाँ पे थे, हमारे मैनेजर साथ में गए हैं टीम के, तो ये जो सब वाकया हुआ है उनका लुक आफ्टर करना ही उनका एक ड्यूटी बनती है। अकेला बॉक्सिंग की ट्रेनिंग देना नहीं, उनकी ट्रेनिंग के बाद जो मैनेजर जाता है उसका यही ड्यूटी होती है। अगर वो उस समय $500 तक अगर वो अपनी पॉकेट में नहीं रखते, इज ए बिग मिस्टेक। वो अपनी ड्यूटी कहाँ पे करते हैं, इट मीन्स वो अपनी ड्यूटी पे परफेक्ट नहीं है, उनको सब मालूम है, इतने एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं। और बार बार ये किस्से होते रहे हैं कि लास्ट
सब $500 अपनी पॉकेट में नहीं रखते तो एक बात है, वहां कोई था ही नहीं, शी वाज अलोन, कोई था ही नहीं उनके साथ ये प्रोटेस्ट लॉन्च करने के लिए। वो खुद कह रही थी, हमारे रिपोर्टर से बात हुई थी, वो खुद कह रही थी यहाँ पे कोई है ही नहीं, कोई ऑफिशियल है ही नहीं हमारे साथ। Isn't that just shameful?
The other point is,
नहीं है, बट एक टीम कोच की भी ये ड्यूटी बनती है कि
no, the coach did pay. See, we have got to put the facts there. The coach and a journalist paid the money, Raj Kumar Sangwan. But मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि जो मेडल सेरेमनी के दौरान हुआ, जिस तरह से सरिता देवी ने अपना प्रोटेस्ट लॉन्च किया, कई लोग ये मानते हैं कि वो गलत तरीका था। But my question to you is, had somebody sat with her from the OCA, from the IOA, either the deputy chef de mission or the chef de mission or the coach himself sat with her that evening before the medal ceremony saying, don't do anything wrong right now, you have to accept, it's all right, this happens. Had somebody sat with her then, would she have behaved what she did? Would she have done what she did to cop this criticism?
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए उनको जो उस समय एक इमोशनली, उस समय एक जो रियल एथलीट है वो अपने मन की बात सुनता है, ना कि दिमाग से काम लेता है। ठीक है, उन्होंने उनके माइंड में उनको इतना सेटबैक लगा, उन्होंने इतना ही सोचा कि मैं शायद ये ना करके अपनी नाराजगी दिखाने का उनका एक तरीका यही था, क्योंकि अगर वो तरीका नहीं दिखाती शायद इतना रिएक्शन उस चीज का नहीं होता। हाँ। तो उन्होंने अपने दिल से जो काम किया, दिल की जो बातों को अपने सामने रखा और उन्होंने मेडल लेने से इनकार किया। हाथ में जरूर लिया मेडल, हमने देखा है कि हाथ में लेके और उन्होंने अपने सेकंड्स को पहनाया, तो ये रिएक्शन उनका टेम्परेरी ठीक था। अगर, लेकिन मैं मानता हूं, अपनी सोच है कि टेम्परेरी रिएक्शन हो सकता है, लेकिन उसके बाद उनको मेडल एक्सेप्ट करके मेडल को लेके आना चाहिए था, क्योंकि जो वाकया हो चुका है वो हो चुका। उन्होंने अपना रोष भी दिखाया और उसके बावजूद अगर वो मेडल को एक्सेप्ट करना उनका एक फर्ज बनता है।
पर यही बात कोई ऑफिशियल उनको पहले समझा देता।
करेक्ट।
यही बात उनको अगर कोई पहले समझा देता कि अगर आप अपना मेडल नहीं एक्सेप्ट करेंगी तो आपका करियर स्टेक पे हो जाता है। बट नोबडी एक्सप्लेन दिस टू हर। कैप्टन PVK Mohan, you know, we've seen repeatedly over the years this kind of apathy from officials. What's happened here once again is that eventually, whatever the reason may be, Sarita Devi has accepted that medal, and you know the issue is going to be buried. But the larger issues remain. This total apathy of officials towards their athletes, whether it's about lodging the protest. Now, Mr. Bhimani talked about, you know, several years ago the American contingent. I'm going to talk about right here itself. Just half an hour after what happened to Sarita Devi, there was an entire horde of the Mongolian contingent descending upon the officials. They were crying foul about one of their boxers being denied what they thought should have been a medal as well. And there we saw literally, you know, 20 to 30 officials from the Mongolian contingent going and lodging that protest. It's a different thing that that protest was not entertained either, but look at the solidarity that they're showing to their athlete.
Yeah, Tina, you're right. You hit the nail on the head, Tina. What you basically said was the number of people that were there during the bout, and as you rightly said, the AIBA did not get proper representation. There were not enough people there, and only a coach is left alone, or maybe a couple of journalists. This is not enough. Like you rightly said, you need a lot of people, a lot of support staff, and all of them must jointly take up this issue and make a lot of noise.
No, but Captain Mohan, here's what happened.
And because
here's what happened. We had the deputy chef de mission telling Times Now and telling the media that he wanted to protest. But the coach said that the protest will be turned down, no point protesting. They deliberated for 2 hours. And then when they saw Sarita Devi so inconsolable, they decided to go and protest. Now, what should be the role of the official?
He obviously knows the rules.
No, the official should have...
Yes, Captain Mohan.
No, the officials had to go. Yeah, the officials had to go and take stock of the situation. They have to protest first. They have to take it up strongly, and then also at the same time do some counseling with the player, because the player is obviously very disturbed. Because they worked for years and years for this event.
Sir, those are the 2-3 points. First up, there was nobody, no official. Secondly, nobody spoke to Sarita Devi. That was her biggest grouse. She and her husband kept telling the media, nobody came and spoke to us. Nobody came and even consoled us or told us this happens. You have to accept it. There was nobody around the athlete in that moment of despair. That's their biggest pain and hurt. And Mr. Kishore Bhimani, the other thing. The moment the AIBA statement comes, a strongly worded statement which says the boxer and her team, we believe, conspired and staged the entire act. The moment that statement comes, see what happens. And how are we to believe that it is the athlete who's had a change of heart?
The athlete has had no change of heart. I mean, even sitting here, one can see that. That poor woman is distraught. Today, what has really happened is that the IOA has a change of heart, that we should keep everything hunky-dory. We have made a major mistake. I have seen Olympic Games and Asian Games from close up. Today, people like the Chinese, the Americans, some of the Eastern countries, East Asian countries, they have a gold medal aspirant. There will be 6 people. There will be officials, supporters, people who are cheerleaders. There will be no less than 6 to 8 people cheering them on. And here, when Indians are taking part, I really feel sorry. I have served on the Billiards and Snooker Association, and I tell you, an association like Captain Mohan heads is amazing. Today, one Michael Ferreira is playing somewhere, and there'll be 5 officials, not having had the dinner, sitting there and saying, come on, boy. And that's why we have 11 world titles in Billiards and Snooker. Here in Olympic Games, time and time again we see that they are left alone. A poor woman from the northeast who doesn't speak English, she's out there, and there should be 6 people sitting there leading her on, cheering her on, and saying, come on, get that gold. And if anything went wrong, see, that the hell with you. We will protest in the strongest possible manner. Don't tell us that now she has had a change of heart. She's had no change of heart. IOA has decided that once more we'll close ranks and we'll do this. This is ridiculous.
Nisha, you can tell us more about what it's like when you go out and represent India in international competitions. Now, admittedly, the entire troop, the entire contingent that was going to the Asiad was pruned down. There are fewer number of officials going, but those that were there, still in the hundreds, where were they? There's only 1 or 2, maximum 3, really high-profile medal prospect events that are happening at the later stages of the games. Where were all these officials?
The sad part about Indian sport is these so-called officials that come, even after the, the number has been pruned down, most of them are not even proper coaches. I remember at the Olympics, we had the national swimming coach who didn't know any swimming. He was sitting in the jacuzzi while I was the only participant and busy training on my own.
What do you mean the national swimming coach didn't know any swimming, Nisha?
I'm not kidding you. I mean, he would tell you the total opposite of what you had to do. He would say things like Ian Phelps and Michael Thorpe instead of Michael Phelps and Ian Thorpe. So that's just to show you, back in 2000 how things were. Currently, we have a proper coach, who's the national coach. But when I went, the so-called national coach was sitting in the jacuzzi and I was swimming for India. So this is nothing new. But the sad part is this girl had a medal chance, I'm sure for Mary Com's fight, there would have been 100 officials and ready to jump, because now she's a big name and, which is good, but there should also be that same kind of support. Sarita Devi was very much in medal contention, even had a chance to get in for the gold medal match. So why aren't these people coming forward? I think this is just a desperate act on her part. Definitely, it did, as a sports person, you don't feel like watching somebody break down on the, on the podium and, not accept a medal. But this turnaround, if you ask me, it's 100%, like Mr. Bhimani said, just the IOA closing ranks on her and saying, this is what you have to do to
Is it
save
the
her
IOA
career.
closing
And,
ranks?
to save face.
Nisha, I'm going to go across to Raj Kumar Sangwan and ask this. Had Boxing India been a strong फेडरेशन, अगर इस फेडरेशन के साथ जो हो रहा है 2 साल से, उनका पता नहीं इलेक्शन होंगे कि नहीं होंगे, 10 दिन पहले एशियन गेम्स के उनको पार्टिसिपेशन का मौका मिल रहा है, उनका एक भी ऑफिशियल इसलिए नहीं गया क्योंकि उनका ऑफिशियल अपॉइंट ही नहीं है अभी तक। ये हालत अगर बॉक्सर्स और बॉक्सिंग एसोसिएशन की नहीं होती तो आपको लगता है कि एक आईबा के स्टेटमेंट के चलते ये चेंज ऑफ हार्ट होता? आपको ये लग रहा है कि सरिता देवी ने ये डिसीजन इसलिए लिया है क्योंकि नहीं तो आईबा से पूरे बॉक्सिंग पे, इंडियन बॉक्सिंग पे ही सैंक्शन लग जाते? तो जहां लोगों का करियर बचाने के लिए वो प्रोटेस्ट कर रही थी, शायद उनके करियर बिगड़ जाते, इसलिए उसने ये फैसला लिया। एंड नाउ हु इज टू ब्लेम फॉर दिस?
जी बिल्कुल, देखिए सरिता की सोच जो मैंने पहले बताया कि उसने एज ए स्पोर्ट्समैन होने के अपने तरीके से उसने वो दिल में किया, और आज बॉक्सर के वेलफेयर के लिए ऑलरेडी हम 2 साल से हमारा इतना नुकसान है कि हम इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे इंडियन फ्लैग के बगैर खेलते हैं, कहीं हमें पार्टिसिपेशन बहुत कम मिलता है हमारी। इवन अगर आप देखें ग्राउंड लेवल पे नेशनल चैंपियनशिप 2 साल से कोई नहीं हुई है, कोई नया टैलेंट उभर के जो बीट कर सकते हैं हमारे इंटरनेशनल बॉक्सर्स के, उस एरिना में आ सकते हैं, वहां पे हमारा कोई बॉक्सर जा नहीं पाया है। ऑलरेडी इतना नुकसान हुआ है, और अगर आईबा इस समय अगर बॉक्सिंग के प्रति यही रवैया जो हमारे बॉक्सर्स के ऑफिशियल्स फेडरेशंस का अगर यही रवैया रहता तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बैन हमारा और लंबा हो सकता था। और वो इस जो नई फेडरेशन बनी है बॉक्सिंग इंडिया, अगर इस फेडरेशन को कम से कम एक अच्छे ढंग से अपने ऑफिशियल्स जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन आईबा के सामने रखेंगे, वो ठीक है कि उनको एक्सेप्ट करेंगे नहीं करेंगे, अभी फाइनल डिसीजन नहीं हुआ। तो मुझे उम्मीद तो ये है कि शायद ये एफिलेटेड हो जाए आईबा के साथ। अगर एफिलेटेड नहीं होती तो बहुत गहरे संकट के बादल हिंदुस्तान की बॉक्सिंग के ऊपर वापिस गहरा जाएंगे, और जो मुकाम आज हिंदुस्तान की बॉक्सिंग ने हासिल किया है उसमें हमें लगता है कि हमारी काफी वापिस उसी लेवल पे बदनामी होगी। और लेकिन सरिता की ग्रेटनेस है कि उन्होंने ये वापिस माना और मेडल को लिया, इसमें बहुत अच्छा किया उन्होंने। लेकिन जो हमारे ऑफिशियल्स अगर बॉक्सिंग फेडरेशन की फैमिली वहां पे जाती तो शायद इस चीज के असर इतना नहीं होता, वो उनको समझा के और उनसे सरिता को मेडल लेने के लिए उसी समय पे